Hi there, this is Marielle from Sunshine Crafts, Cavan. I am showing you today what a bad batch of soap looks like. You can be soaping for several years, like I've been soaping for 5 or 6 years now, and I've had plenty of good batches of soap, and then you have, there's a lot of calculations that are involved with making cold pressed soap, and every so often you're going to be tired or you're going to mess up, and you know, it's a good thing that you get a warning sign with a bad batch of soap, so you're not like selling it to people and knowing, I've sold a bad batch of soap, oh no, and finding out afterwards, with complaints and things like that. So there's two big kind of no-nos that will happen if you've messed up your soap calculations. One is that this bar is too caustic. And what will happen to your soap basically is it will crumble. So when you're actually cutting it, like I normally cut after about a week of it coming out of the mold, and it's quick enough just to kind of, I find that it's better for the soaps to cure when they're cut. So you got your 4 to 6 weeks to cure, but you will find it's gonna happen straight away. The soap's gonna come out, and you're gonna feel it. It's gonna feel very grainy when you rub against it. You can see yourself. It's just kind of coming away in my hands there. It's really bad. So that basically is too caustic. So that would be below pH. Or sorry, it would be, yeah. So basically, what I can do with this soap is it's not a complete loss. You haven't lost like a lot of your product. What you can do is you can actually grate this, and this can be actually used as laundry soap. Like, so, putting in for your washing machine and things like that. One thing I would recommend is using like a food blender. A lot of people like chop them up a little bit smaller and then chuck them in the food blender, and it's so much easier. Over caustic soap is also great for if you're like using a lot of like oil in your work, like on your hands, or if you're a farmer or something like that. Using a bit of extra caustic soap is a little bit like, it's handy sometimes, but not all the time. The downside of using over caustic soap is that you will actually get pink skin on your hands. So you can see I've actually been, handling this, and you can see that little bit of pink. A lot of people I know have used products that they bought in the shops, and their skin goes pink afterwards, and they think, oh, I've had an allergic reaction. Actually, it's because the acidity in the soap is like, it's just too strong, and it's causing a swelling reaction in my hands. My hands actually swell if I you know what you can do is, if you have been handling over caustic soap or soap that hasn't cured yet, you can always pour a bit of vinegar on your hands, and that's what I always do. I always keep like I got this was 50 cent in Tesco's distilled vinegar, and you just literally, it's got a pouring nozzle, and you can just pour it all over your hands if you want to. There's other things you can do with the soap. You can rebatch it. So rebatching is a little complicated because it is very hit and miss. So say for instance, if I have missed out on maybe 50 grams of oil in this soap mixture, I don't exactly know what I've done wrong in this mixture. So what I could do is I could go back, grate the soap into a pot, add a bit more oil, like say 50 grams or whatever, but do it in small increments, pour it back into the soap mold, and see if it sets, and then you can do your litmus testing, or you can do your skin testing, rub your fingers against it, see if it's a little bit caustic. There's a few old-fashioned soap makers that will use what they call the battery test. Now, I think this is absolutely crazy, but I prefer to use a litmus test, but they will actually just take the soap and lick it. And if it gets a bit of a zing, it is either over caustic, or, obviously you're going to have to wait your 4 to 6 weeks for it to be fully cured. It's another way that people test that if their soap is fully cured, they will lick the soap. I think that's absolutely crazy. I'm not going to be going around licking soaps, especially if I'm going to be selling them to people. And you can see the difference between the soap. Like, it looks like cottage cheese basically, and like, right beside a good batch of soap, you can see it's like nice and solid, and it's very kind of, stylistically pleasing, I guess. So the opposite way can happen as well. So obviously, if you put either too much caustic in and not enough oil, this is what happens. But the other way around can happen. So if you have too much oil and not enough caustic soda, what you'll have is something called oil pockets. So you'll have like little bits of oil and your soap sweating with bits of oil coming up. Sometimes you can that happens a lot with people who superfat. Superfatting basically means you put 5% more oil in your soap to get really creamy soap. It'll be very soft, but sometimes you get little pockets of oil sticking around, and sometimes it can be bad enough to create holes in your soap. If it's really bad, if you've really messed up your calculations, your soap just won't get solid. It'll just stay as mush. And I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube of people just nearly crying, going, "What's wrong with my soap?" So I always do my calculations 2 or 3 times, and then I might double check it on brambleberry.com. It's an American soap making website, and they actually have a lye calculator and a fragrance calculator, and it's great for those days when you go, I don't trust my calculations, my math isn't great. So that's basically, over caustic or over oily is the kind of the worst things that can happen with your soap. Another kind of thing that can actually happen as well is that if you add too much titanium dioxide, now I don't like using titanium dioxide because I'm trying to be as chemical free as possible with my soaps, you will find something called glycerin rivers, where there will basically be like little lines going through your soap. Glycerin is a natural byproduct like that you buy in the sort of cake making stores. It's actually a byproduct of soap. So it actually occurs naturally in handmade soap. That's why handmade soap is so much nicer, because a lot of the shop bought soaps, they'll actually extract the glycerin out of it, sell it as a separate product, and then you've got a drier bar of soap. So it's not as moisturizing. Glycerin soap is so much nicer. You've got so much more kind of, softness in your skin after using them. So that's basically how to know if you've messed up with your bar soap. It's pretty obvious when you cut into it. And you're going to know within a week basically if you've messed up. And that is it. So what I'm going to do with this particular batch is I'm going to rebatch it, and I'll do a separate video on showing you how to rebatch your soap and how to rescue this poor thing, because this was marigold and calamine with wild orange and vanilla, and it smells lovely, but it's just, I can't use it. Alright, have a good day guys, bye.